I'd like to call this meeting of the Rock Ridge School Board to order. There's a binder of public material at the front, available for public review, as well as the meeting agendas. Turn the phones on silent, communication devices on silent, please. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My country too. Did you see that video? When the class sang that song?
Yes, very cute.
All right, roll call. Director Sorkin.
Here.
Director Westby.
Here.
Director Dahl.
Here.
Director Lotiger.
Here.
Director Yuhan is here. Director Addy and Director Reardon are both out of town. If I can get a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
I'd like to amend it to say, to keep 7.1 and 7.2 for discussion only, but to take no action. I don't think we have enough information on the MOU with the teachers and the Orange Frog training. So for discussion only or informational only?
Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Can we vote on the amendment? Any discussion after that?
I would assume that we would get more information as well from Noel as soon as that portion comes up.
I would like to have had some more to consider and study, though, before this. I don't like to make snap decisions, whether it's a phone call or anything. So I would be glad to hear what he has, but for tonight, but not to vote on it.
Okay, so we vote on Paulie's amendment first. All those in favor of making those discussion only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
No. Motion passes 3-2. So we'll just make those discussion only. Vote on the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Visitor input, there was none tonight. Consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve?
I will move to approve.
Support.
Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion?
Yeah, discussion. It seems every meeting after meeting, we are always looking for paras. Paras are resigning, and we're always looking and posting for more. Is there a reason for that? It seems to be ongoing.
I would guess that it's a problem that most businesses are having with employees, different, it's a very, very competitive workforce that would maybe have these people moving around a little bit, would be my guess, but maybe Noel could chime in.
Yeah.
Difficult job as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, members of the school board, happy to explain. Yes, we are having more turnover with our para group than we certainly would like. And part of that is because these are not full-time jobs. They do not have benefits. And normally we just see more turnover in those types of positions. But this year, for some reason, we are seeing more turnover in some of those positions. Our principals can't put a finger on it because it's always different for every single para. They got a full-time job, they got a better job. Some it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. It doesn't work with my work schedule. I'm going back to school, so it doesn't mesh with what I'm doing. But I believe it's something that when we get to the budget and the work situations, it might be something that the finance committee or the larger group full school board should take a look at. When this is down the road, should we look at maybe making a few more of these pairs full-time? Would that help retain? Would that keep some of them? Now it costs more, so there's would that make any sense? Right now, that's not the situation, but the numbers, the reason why we are having para turnover, it's all over the map. We don't have a singular trend, but you are right, we are having more turnover this year.
So do we do exit interviews with any employees that leave us or students that leave us? And that would be some, well, yeah, students who open enroll or leave during the middle of the year or whatever. Or, I mean, that could be more a statistical thing to study of, reasons why, numbers, timing.
But the topic is on paras.
I know, well, okay, I said paras and any other employees or students.
On the staff side of it, the principals know every single time why someone is leaving. That's just what a principal does. On the kids side of it, the counselors and the principal, they know every single time why somebody is going somewhere else. Are they keeping a tabulation like it's because of this reason or not that reason? On the student side, I am not aware of them doing something like that. The numbers are all over the map as far as why that is happening. But we're not seeing anything unusual with the students this year. It's been in the para group this year.
So on the para group and again, other employees, I think it'd be good information for the board to know too, for making other decisions. We might, like you say, we might want to make them full-time or some full-time and some part-time. We might want to increase the salary to make it more, appealing too, just like we did for substitute teachers. So I think that information would be interesting. And then playground lunchroom aides, I heard that there might be a problem of being frustrated about maybe behavior on the playground or other times. I know we've had to have, we didn't have to, but we hired more hall monitors because of those types of things. So, those are things I think we should know more about.
I did hear that there was a problem finding playground lunchroom aides, and that like next Wednesday, there will be no playground supervisor for at least North Star. And I'm just wondering, is there reasons why they're leaving, or, is there, I know I did see in the paper that there was ads for employment. Have we had any luck with that yet, or?
That is, the playground supervisors are the most difficult position to find because the hours are the fewest and they tend to make less, because some of these folks don't even work 14 hours a week. And we have had a run of where we had some individuals who they did this for a long time. And those individuals aren't with us necessarily anymore. And so, but that is a group that is actually more difficult than a para. Lunchroom supervisors, they're kind of in the same area because we only need them for a couple hours a day. And so you're right that we are going to have a little more turnover in that group. And we tried to merge them sometimes, a para and a playground. We've had some paras do that, and that has helped. But the playground, it's a tough, it's always been a harder position to find.
I think that's,
Sometimes they've had kind of like split shifts too.
Yep, split shifts, we've had to do that to try and make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we've also have on the playground and the lunchroom supervision, we have more teachers who are doing that this year than we've ever had. And that's great because they know the kids and we really like that part of it. So we have more teachers doing that kind of thing than we've ever had before too.
that's good, and they get a little bit of a stipend or overload or something. And so, yeah, we've done that before in Evelyn Gilbert too. And so maybe along with paras, maybe playground lunchroom aides, we could look at maybe an increased salary for them or $1 per hour, and that sharing. Yeah, because it's pretty hard to come in for an hour or two every day and break up your day, so.
And that will be part of the great debate you will participate in coming up soon, budget-wise. How do we make all of this work?
And Cindy Linthorst, media aid, have we posted and advertised, or do you expect that you want to post and advertise to replace that position? Cindy Linthorst, media aid resignation?
Yep, we probably will be posting for that position and want to replace it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Reports, Treasurer's Report 5.1. Is that you again, Noel?
An update for the board on the treasurer's report is that ARC is the computing company we go through for all of our business software. They're located in Hermantown. Their systems are still down. They've been down for, boy, it must be almost, they're up, but they're not up like they need to be up. So we have some employees who are driving to Duluth so they can use the computer. So Spencer on, he said, I'm supposed to tell you, he does know you do want to look at a different kind of report. ARC can't provide that yet. So it's coming, so that's why you're looking at the report that you have. Spencer knows you want to see a different report, and he will do that as soon as he gets additional information from ARC.
Okay.
So I have a question on the treasurer's report. In our previous school district, the treasurer actually reviewed the bills and went over the bills and then gave the numbers in the report and said, I've reviewed the bills and I recommend approval or not approval, but have our treasurers actually reviewed the bills since we've been consolidated?
Your treasurer?
Our treasurers.
No, your treasurer does not see all the bills.
Why?
If your treasurer wants to park down here for a couple hours every week and go through the bills, they're certainly welcome to do that. The board has never asked me to do that.
I'm just saying it was past practice.
Good.
It was past practice with Evelyn Gilbert, right, Brandy and John?
I know that the previous treasurers would read, and we discussed this, I think, the last meeting when Spencer was here, but just where you would read off, you know, what the current balance is in each account, you'd read that off during the treasurer's report.
But the previous treasurers at Evelyn Gilbert, they actually did review the bills instead of just reading off the things. I just wondered if, I didn't think of asking that before, maybe last
The
time.
only thing I'd like the board to be aware of is that the district now is significantly larger than the old Evelyn Gilbert. So everything is going to be times 2 or 3.
Probably 3.
So you're welcome to do this. We're happy to provide it. You just need to understand what you're getting into.
Okay.
And if you have questions about something in the treasurer's report, you can always call Spencer and ask him the question. Yeah. So,
Okay, so there'll be a new report coming in the future when ARC gets back up and running 100%. Okay.
Do you want help there?
I'll be okay. I was.
5.2,
Sleeping?
Oh, my goodness.
Parkview Principal's Report.
Don't move. Don't.
So I tried to lay her down and Stacy told me she's gonna wake up if I lay her down. So I just want all of you to know I'm happy as can be for you. Thank
He looks very happy as well.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to come tonight. Here, I gotta open my phone here. Parkview has been running great lately. I just gotta tell you, we've been looking at our reading and our math data.
Wake her up.
I'm gonna wake her up.
Count it down.
Reading and our math data, and things have been going really well. We've seen some really great gains from September until January. So I'm really happy with the gains that we're seeing from students, and teachers are working really hard at that. So I applaud them as well. We're wrapping up I Love to Read Month right now. February was I Love to Read Month. At Parkview, it was Bookopoly. So we kind of took the game theme. They have a lovely picture of me posted in the middle of the Bookopoly board with a mustache and all. Kids were working every week. They'd set a goal for how many books they were going to read. And then they would earn, there was 4 weeks. So the 1 week they earned a card game that they get to take home. They get to play it in school on this Friday, actually, and get to take it home. Week 2, they got to earn popcorn from the movie theater. Week 3, they got to earn a juice box to go with it. And then candy on week 4. So they're going to have a nice little game party on this Friday. And I also challenged the entire building to read more than 4,000 books. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to up the ante next year because they passed that 4,000 books in 3 weeks. So on Thursday, you'll see Mrs. Stefanich taped to the gym wall with duct tape. So, all of the kids are going to help. They're each getting a piece of duct tape, and I'll be stuck to the wall for a while on Thursday. So.
Cool.
I'm excited that they met it. They were very excited. They keep telling me, we're reading more, we're reading more. So we'll do that Thursday if any of you care to see me strapped to the wall. Our book fair started today. We're running it through Thursday, kind of in conjunction with I Love to Read Month, kind of celebrating all the reading that they have done. Tomorrow, we have the Zoomobile coming for our pre-K students. They'll be in our building for the morning up until 12:30 for all of our classes. I'm going to bring some other animals up. And then on March 9th, I have a magic show. It's called Magic Village Show. The guy is out of Duluth. And he comes up and he does a magic show in relation to bullying. So he's coming up to do that show for all of our students that are there on Friday. I know our pre-K isn't there Friday, but that was his available date. So we'll hit some of our pre-K, but not all of them. But talking to our students about some of that bullying and ways to prevent it and stick up for your friends. So that's what we have going on at Parkview. It's been great. Any questions?
I'm curious about your, you said you have math gains. I'm wondering what you attribute that to, like if there was a change or what you're doing different that helped that.
It's taken us a couple of years. A lot of what we're doing is getting teachers in. We're really diving into our data. So we've spent a lot of time looking at if one class is doing more or making greater gains, why is that? What can we change? We saw some pretty great gains in a couple of our pilot classrooms that are piloting the math curriculums. And I also think that it's just, teachers being aware of what gains we're making. My interventionists in my building are phenomenal. They're looking at what those kids are doing, where their holes are, let's call them, some skills that maybe kids need to brush up on. They pull them, they work on those skills, they, let's call it, graduate from those skills, and then they go back to their classroom. So our teachers are really focusing on what we're missing and not just like math as a whole. It's looking at the skills. So,
what are the pilot math programs?
oh boy, one was iReady Math, and now I'm not going to remember the second one. Math Expressions, maybe. And I have in my building, I think I have 4 teachers doing the pilot program. And there's other teachers doing it throughout our district. But we did see some gains with some of that math. So that's exciting, to know that programs, at least that we're looking at, are making our students learn some of those skills and make some great gains. So I don't know what program they'll go with, because of course there's always different reasons that kids make gains too, depending on what's happening. But we did see some nice gains in there, which is promising.
Gina, what measurements did you use to see those gains? Were there quarterly, state, or local tests that you were using?
Our teachers, we always take a test at the end of chapters or end of a skill that we're working on. But our students, the data that I'm looking at, particularly, Polly, is our STAR testing. We have a STAR reading test and a STAR math test.
Okay.
And everybody in our district participates in that in September, January, and May. But at the Parkview, we also do it in November and March as well. So we have benchmarks, but then we kind of have our in-between benchmarks too, just to kind of look at our gains. But
okay.
I looked at the 2 benchmarks we've done for the year from September to January, STAR.
And then the Minnesota ones, do we compare those from year to year? I forget what they're called.
The MCAs. Yeah, I luck out on that. I don't have MCAs in my building because I only go through 2nd grade. So I don't look at the MCA scores. When I do the Read Well by 3rd grade report, of course I report on that, but I don't have the MCAs in my building.
I know there's a whole list on the website somewhere of all the tests that we get.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
I'll check that then.
Any other questions?
I think you're doing a great job, and I love all the programs and fun things that you're bringing to Parkview. All 3 of my kids went through Parkview, and they're always excited to go to school, so I love to see that. And I just might come see you on the wall.
Anytime. I know. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Gina. I did get a note. Do we have to approve the payment of the bills going back to 5.1? That was on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that.
Don't have to, you could wait on that if you wanted to.
Okay.
I think I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I think we should.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, 5.3, 2-year trial, boys hockey going up 1 class.
I think you're gonna want me to pop up for this one, and then the board can discuss. So here's what happened. boys hockey, I'm talking boys hockey here right now, no other sport. So the boys hockey program and the coach is interested in moving up one class. I'm not gonna say everybody. So I talked to the two activity directors, and then I had a meeting, I can do this. I had a meeting with some of the board members who probably were gonna be on the activity committee, and there is no legal requirement to post every single time I talk to a school board member, or there are two school board members, there was not a quorum there, was not a decision-making group. We asked them, what do you think? And so I talked to the two activity directors, talked to the head voice coach, the two activity directors, the head voice coach. They were in favor of going up a class for 2 years. It's a trial. So what happens is that you go up a class. I know this sounds strange, but we can actually decide if we want to go up a class. And so they wanted to go up a class. And so we had to do it by a certain deadline. So in consultation with the two activity directors, we decided to do a 2-year float balloon, try it, see how it goes. If we go up a class for 2 years and it doesn't work, then we can drop down a class. So we don't have to stay there. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then we simply pull back the boys hockey program to the class that they're currently were playing in this year. So that's what happened with the boys hockey program as far as which class should they be in next year. I'll entertain any discussions or.
So after the
questions that board has.
2-year trial, I mean, you can't go jump in back and forth between classes.
Probably
Technically.
not forever. But you can, in this case, you can drop back a class. Now, that's different how they have run it in the past, because sometimes they just say, this is your class, no and if ors about it. It's based on enrollment. You're in this class and you're in this class. This is not what this situation is. Yeah, it literally is, we can make the decision to drop back the class in 2 years.
So when was the deadline for it?
The deadline was in February. It was a Friday in February. I can't remember.
I think it was January 26th.
It was late January, early February, somewhere right around in there.
January 27th.
And you made the decision to do it, you and the two activity directors, and, okay.
Consultation with, talked to head coach. I did talk to some board members who it looked like, because you hadn't decided who was on the committees yet. So I did talk to some board members who it looked like they were going to be on the activity committee. That's kind of normal for me.
So then the process was not to have to come through the board then, as a whole?
Because, I just say, because a normal situation is it would never need board approval because you're put in a class and that it is what it is.
Right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then we don't go by the numbers in our district necessarily then? That rumor is...
It's really strange when you think about it, but that's how it works. Now, the Minnesota State High School League, they're the ones who set the rules for this. They could, because of what we decide to do, or what, because there's other schools who also could bump up. That could cause the Minnesota State High School League to cause some other schools to tier up into the next one above it. It's unusual.
Okay.
Because normally it doesn't work that way with everything, and certainly not the way it was done in the old days. It was just, this is the line, that's it. No discussion.
Okay.
So this move certainly has some financial ramifications, right?
Some of the bus rides might be a little bit longer. Some of the bus rides, some will be shorter. We will be playing Grand Rapids more often. We will be playing Cloquet more often. We'll be playing Duluth. We'll be going down to Duluth a little bit more often. And could we end up on a bus to like North Branch? Yeah, that could happen a little, Andover, yeah. Something
Do that for baseball anyways, right now.
could happen. They're doing it right now, you're right.
And basketball too.
Basketball
actually.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cloquet opted back down, so they went on a single A, so we might not play them as. often.
And the two activity directors, because we asked about that, does that mean we're not playing anybody around us? No, and they said, no. We're still gonna need to play to fill out the schedule. If they want, we'll play some schools around us. And that won't stop. So we'll still be playing some of the schools around us. That's not gonna stop.
Would those games count in that tier though, in that AA tier? Or would that just be playing for like,
They would definitely,
Play.
no, they would definitely count. They count on your overall record. They wouldn't, depending on what conference you're in, if it's going to be a conference game or not. I mean, you have your conference and your section. It all depends what, we're in the IRC right now, but that's subject to change as well. Who knows? That remains to be seen.
so they count, but I was told the closest ones that we would play now would be Grand Rapids and Duluth, and we would have to go up further.
No,
to
that's
play.
not true.
It's not true?
Yes, we're still gonna be playing, I fully expect us to be playing International Falls. We'll still be playing some of our Hibbing, we'll still be playing.
Greenway.
Greenway, we'll still be playing them.
So John, I guess I don't understand, but if you're in different tiers, A or AA, that means we're crossing over and playing in the different tiers? Is that how it works?
I
Yeah.
think other teams do that all the time.
Yeah, basketball does that too.
I just didn't know if they all counted or not. Okay. Well, I think this should have come to the full board because it has ramifications. It's got financial ones. It's got, if the deadline was whatever, we could have been talking about this a long time ago, and I understand the talk has been being talked about for a long time among different teams, among different coaches. And I believe it wasn't proper to not come back to the full board and have a decision made at the committee level and between and among you and the athletic directors and a few board members.
So
Other
that's-
discussion?
Yeah.
I was just saying, any other discussion?
Are the rest of you okay with that, of the process?
Well, I think the head coach made it clear that he wanted to move up. It's his team. The athletic directors were there. I mean, Ben knows the competition and where he might be better suited, what he's got coming up. I'm okay with it.
Well,
I myself have heard from parents that they were not happy with it. So maybe they'll change their mind after hearing this discussion, I don't know, but they were concerned about not being able to play the games as much, so.
I do think that the coach maybe needs better communication then with the parents, because he's ultimately the one that could answer those questions.
and you said the hockey program was in favor of it, but I don't know who that means, the hockey program, you said, and the coaches and the athletic directors. I just didn't like reading about it in the paper, that we made a decision and I had never heard about it. And again, that should have been a decision by the full board. Just as we're making decisions for all kinds of trainings and,
And we do make lots of decisions that do not come to the full school board.
right, but that doesn't affect a whole district or a whole program. You know, the boards statutorily, how does it read? We prescribe textbooks and courses of study, and I would think that extends to athletic programs and other activities too. I believe that's very, very much a board responsibility and right and.
Well, in 2 years, in a reverse, when it comes to do we stay, do we go? Well, I'll bring this one right back to the whole group. And so the full board can talk about it.
It's a 2-year trial.
It's a 2-year trial.
Yep. I see very little change in the schedule myself, and nothing ventured, nothing gained, I guess.
And I totally don't like the process and what happened.
Okay.
That's the end for me.
All right, moving on.
Thank you.
5.4, Superintendent. Still there?
All right, I'm still here. I have 3 things to talk about. They're all related. But first of all, let me go to the opening night of the gyms in Rock Ridge, the new high school. It went way better than I thought it was going to go because we were worried about, because we just got the keys, literally. We're worried about, does the water work? You know, is there toilet paper? You're talking about, does the key work? Does the sound system work? And yes, I know there was a little delay while the girls were waiting for the sound to go on, but we got that figured out. I mean, there's endless parking lot. How did people know where to park? We had a lot of people. There were a lot of nervous people. We had people in the parking lots trying to help people to park. We had extra people in the building. We had extra people worrying about, we had custodians there, extra custodians there. Custodians did a great job. It way exceeded my expectations. And if you were there, and most of you were there, and people appreciated seeing you there because they told me about it. So kudos to you. But the kids section was great. The band was there, was great. We had halftime entertainment. The visiting teams were great. You need to know this. They treated your new locker rooms like gold. There was nothing wrong in those locker rooms. They were very respectful of all the property. There was nothing. The boosters came and sold water. I know we had said we weren't going to sell concessions. We did do the water, and it worked. It seemed to work well. It went really well. I don't know if we've had a basketball game where there's been that many people in the stands for decades. There had to have been total 1,500 at least people there based upon the ones in the stands, and then there are a bunch of people in the area where you could look through the glass and watch, and people on the booths there. It's kind of like the concessions area, and so it went really, really well. I heard maybe one or two, I don't even know if they were complaints about it. And it was always this. And a couple of people look at me and go like this: money, how much did this cost? Come on. You know, it's a great night. It was built on budget. The nicer things in there, they were donations, the scoreboards and everything else, the bleachers. Normally, we never would have been able to afford to put those things in there. We didn't shift money to do that stuff. Those are from donations that we got from people. That's why the scoreboard looks the way it is. That's why the bleachers look the way it is. That's why the whole area, internal area, looks the way it is. It's because of the kind generosity of donors, which greatly exceeded expectations. Because even when we were beginning, I remember the board, we were saying, you know, if we can get $1 million in donations, we at least hope we could get that. Well, it ended up being way over. I think Willie's at 2.8 million plus right now. But the whole night went really, really well. And after that night, we haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything negative. It was always, wow, this is way better than I thought. I didn't think this. Even one of the officials came up to me and said, this is a great atmosphere. This is one of the best atmospheres we've ever refed in. And those guys, they don't just come up to you to say stuff like that. So it went really well. Now, in fact, it went so well that we're going to try to have the first round of the sectional girls game and the boys game also in the gyms, because we think we can do it and have it work. Now, we're not opening the whole school, it's only the gyms, but we think we can get it, done and do it. Which leads into when does the whole high school open up? How is that going to work? So we're still learning and figuring out how it works. It's just like your new house. How does all that work? There's still some things internally that we're working on that you just always do. We're planning an official open house sometime in May. You'll all be invited to it. It'll be a big deal. We'll invite dignitaries. We'll invite the public over there. We'll have some kind of food there, snacks there for people. We'll do tours of the building so everyone can go through it. We do have some people going through the building already. Last week, all the teachers, let me first say this, all the teachers who wanted to have gone through the high school. They've seen it. Not everybody did it because they didn't want to, but most of the teachers have been in the new high school. And they had the opportunity to go through the high school. We gave tours to even the elementary schools. They got to see what the new high school looked like.
Thank you.
And And the reviews coming in, well, you've probably heard them. They're, wow, I can't believe this. And that's because of the way we designed that building. It's no accident that people are saying these things. That was specific design decisions that were made. But like, for example, last week, the Laurentian Chamber of Commerce went through. They typically have a meeting once a month, and sometimes they go tour different facilities. So they toured the new high school. So there were about 50 people from the chamber a business group who we did do tours for them, and they walked through the building. So if you run into a Laurentian Chamber member, just ask them, what did you think about touring the new high school? And one thing I'm hearing from a lot of people that they're not expecting, it's the auditorium. Because it's kind of been in the background a little bit, because people have seen all the turf fields in the fall. Everybody saw those. We've talked about a little bit, but the auditorium is surprising a lot of people. They're going, wow, this is way better than I thought it was. And so that's catching people's attention, and that's because of donations again. We built it with the money we had, but we were able to upgrade the sound, we were able to upgrade the lights, we were able to upgrade the screens because of donations, make that a little bit nicer. It is probably, now Duluth's going to argue with us, it's probably the nicest auditorium anywhere north of the metro. So if you're a theater person, you're a musician, you're going to be paying attention to that. Now, so we'll have an official open house. We will slowly start having events in the building. We don't think classrooms are going to start in there, but when summer starts, once we get the pool refilled and everything else, summer we believe we'll be able to have some events going on, taking place, community ed, some other types of activities going on. The baseball, softball fields, we believe we'll be able to use them this spring. The track, we believe we're going to be able to use that in the spring. However, on the track, there won't be lines painted in it. The lines where runners run in that you normally see on a track, and that's because it just got too cold up here too soon. So they are going to come back and restripe the track, but that doesn't mean they can't practice on it. So we're hoping that we can get the track striped so at least one event can take place on that track. And again, as you know, just because we have rock, woods, water everywhere up here, this was a tough building site. I'm not going to deny that to anybody. It was a difficult building site. However, what makes it a difficult building site makes it a very unique site. That football field, or you're watching a track meet or a football field, if you're a sporting person, when you're in those stands looking out, that right corner of that football field and that track, it's a sheer rock wall. Nobody has that. And then there's the tree. It's gorgeous. It just is. There's no other way to put it. And hopefully it's going to make all of our runners go a little bit faster so they beat everybody else. And our football team just play a little bit harder so we beat the other team. It's very unique. And then the scrim around the stadium, people have mentioned that. When you drive up, you see the scrim on it. That's called scrim. It's very unique. The guy who's putting that up, again, this is because of donations. He's telling us, man, this is better than this is better than some NFL football teams I put up. This is better than some college teams put up because it pops. The way we have a really cool logo, and the way it pops on the white, this is what hit. I'm not making this up. This guy goes all over the country putting these things up. He says this is one of the best ones anywhere. And he's not done. He'll be coming back, so that'll be up. But so we'll slowly start using the building more and more. We will have to do, related to this, we'll do the official open house in May. We'll make sure everybody knows about it. We do have to close Evelyn Gilbert High School and close Virginia High School. There are some legal requirements that we need to pay attention to and do. We did do the same thing with Roosevelt last year and Gilbert. And so we will have to do it. There'll be a public meeting we'll have to have. There's some notices in the paper we'll have to have. We'll take care of that. But I just want to give you a heads up. While we're opening the high school, I know people are excited about that. We are going to be closing Virginia High School and Evelyn Gilbert High School. Franklin will still be used next year, however, but we still have to close on Evelyn Gilbert High School. So there's a process we'll have to go through on that, just so you know it's coming up. And I'll keep you more appraised of how that works. Any questions or comments from the board?
Oh, I was at the basketball games and I thought it was great. I was impressed with the staff that was there. It was all hands on deck. I thought it was very smooth. Impressed that there was people in the parking lot guiding people and pointing them in the right direction. I thought it was great. I couldn't imagine what those players felt like playing in front of that crowd on that brand new court and that scoreboard and everything and the band. And the student section was awesome. It was.
They were all floating. Think about this, a foot off the gym floor.
I concur, and I have to say how welcoming it felt too. Like everyone in the parking lot, everyone was such a great mood. The kids section, they were so full of spirit, but they were still remained respectful and good. I just would like to see it filled like that at every home game.
Excellent atmosphere.
Yeah.
Anything else from Dr. Schmidt?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Policies. We've got the second reading on a few of these. 6.1.1, 203.2, order of the regular school board meeting. Can I get a motion?
I will
Take
make,
them separately, please.
Okay, let's take them separately.
Thank you.
6.1.1, is there a motion to approve?
I will make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, passes 4-1. 6.1.2, 206, public participation in school board meetings, complaints about persons at school board meetings, and data privacy considerations. Can I get a motion to approve?
I will make that motion.
Motion by Lotiger,
I'll second it.
a second by Dr. Dahl. Any discussion?
Just a couple of little things. On page 4, under 7, and then also the companion Rockridge Guidelines document. I think in light of some recent cases that have gone through the courts, I remember one about Loudoun County in Florida and Pennsbury in Pennsylvania, and the courts have taken a different ruling about remarks about people. The people of the public coming in and maybe being vocal or being whatever and criticizing. So I'm not sure that number 7 and our number 5 on our guidelines is legal. We probably should get some legal guidance on that, because our cases more and more coming out against the people in the public having maybe harsh words or criticizing. Goes back to some other Supreme Court case saying that, saying certain things. So I think we need to look at those two.
I would agree with that.
Number 5 and number 7, and that's things that we didn't change. That's how it was written. MSBA and their attorneys, I'm assuming, looked at that as well.
Well, things have come up since this was written by MSBA, and so I'm just saying we should be cautious, because we might have problems down the road if these don't align to either law or case law.
Dr. Schmidt?
I can probably help explain part of that for the board. Typically, you're looking at, these are policies that come from MSBA. And what happens is, if there's a change in the law, so these came from MSBA originally, and typically, not always, but typically, most boards in the state of Minnesota, they adopt MSBA's policy, because they've always had the attorneys go through it. They always have the latest up-to-date legal rulings in there. So if something changes, there's a new court case somewhere that impacts a policy that MSBA might have recommended to a school board, then what we do is that Stacy and I both get updates. There's been a change in one of the board policies, And then those policies always come back to, they start with the policy committee and then eventually they'll go back to the school board. So every year you have some policies you're not required to review. There's 10 policies you're required to review every year, but you always have some additional policies. There's been some type of legal change. MSB is recommending some type of wording. So we feel like we are being kept in the loop when legal happenings occur throughout the nation or in the state of Minnesota.
Personally, I don't believe that we are bound and we should wait for MSB to come up with any changes. This one won't be looked at again for 3 years, as far as it's in a 3-year process, right? And so I'm telling you, in court cases, disrespectful comments of a personal nature will not be allowed. And if you persist, you terminate that person's privilege to attend meetings. I'm telling you, we should be proactive and have our attorneys look into that in light of recent things going on in our country.
Well, Director Sorkin, if there's just so you know, the board knows, if there's an update, the MSB doesn't wait 3 years. If something is changed and needs to get changed, they're going to let us know right away. Mm-hmm. We get these updates. If something changes, we could get it right away the next month. They don't wait 3 years.
And there's no reason for us to wait for MSBA, especially when there's something obvious to us that should be looked at.
And we can also sign up for MSBA updates as well, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so you know.
Okay. Any other discussion on 206?
I do think personal attacks and criticism are quite different, and it's very subjective. And I feel like personal attacks are much harsher than just criticism.
And I agree with you there, not Lisa, but Nicole. But this guideline does not come from MSBA, and this goes further. This says disrespectful comments of a personal nature will not be allowed.
Where are you reading that?
Well, it's attached to our policy 206. It's part of our policy 206. It's in our packet. So when we pass that, evidently we're passing this too, and that does not come from MSB. So this was internally developed, and I think it's very troublesome. And it goes way beyond anything that MSBA talked about. You're right, personal attacks, but even that may not be constitutional in there. And this certainly is unconstitutional. So that's my input.
I feel comfortable with waiting for MSBA's update if we need to adjust it.
Brandy, MSBA will not update our guidelines.
If there's a law change, they definitely will. They most certainly will.
No, because they don't even see our guidelines. This is our guidelines that we give to people.
We didn't.
That's Rockridge's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have these guidelines. Those guidelines.
We didn't change that part.
If
We didn't add that.
That needs to be updated. MSBA is going to let us know.
Brandy, you aren't hearing me. This is not part of.
I'm hearing you.
But we didn't add that part.
Well, why is it in our packet?
We didn't add that number 5 that you're reading.
It's always been
So
there.
this is a Rockridge.
This is in right now. It's in force right now.
So can we,
And we've talked about it at other meetings and committee meetings. That's why it's changed. It's got red. This is the change that the committee is recommending. So this is a change that we're voting on. It's attached to policy 206.
can we unattach it? And just,
Short answer is yes.
okay.
The MSBA policy that you have is separate. You have additional guidelines.
Right.
that
Okay.
Go into more details than what MSBA has. This is very typical.
Okay.
That would be a policy, and so the other document is our suggestions coming from the policy committee on how to implement some of this.
So
It can
maybe,
be separated.
okay, so maybe we separate that and look at our own guidelines.
Yes, but we're just giving you what the policy committee brought forth for us.
Sure.
So is this attached, voting for 206? This also is attached to 206, and it should not be. I see many
So we should
problems.
not, yeah. How do we do that?
I move that it's understood that Rockridge guidelines for visitor input at school board meetings is not part of passing policy 206, and that it should be discussed and voted on separately and
I second that.
changed.
Any discussion on her motion?
I'm fine with that. I get it, because that is pretty,
If we accept that, then we're getting rid of all the other stuff on there, the maximum 3 minutes, the,
No, wait.
you want to get rid of this whole page?
She wants to get rid of this whole,
I want to detach it, first of all.
Attach it from 206.
Detach it and,
comments from previous meetings has always been, we wanted what we had online to match up with
Right,
our
well,
policy.
disrespectful comments is different than personal attacks. So maybe we could add, instead of take out disrespectful comments, because that is pretty mild to me. I feel like just the wording personal attacks are unacceptable, but disrespectful comments, I think,
Then-
should be allowed. That's real subjective.
we have two documents.
And if we're
And that
looking
doesn't
at,
align with our wording,
so if that's the issue, then why aren't we going to approve policy 206 and in the guidelines, replace disrespectful comments with personal attacks?
I would do that, yeah.
But the problem is, in my mind, in my research, that still did not pass muster of constitutional rights. And let's detach
Taking away the freedom of speech, yes.
freedom of speech. So let's detach policy 206 and vote on it, up or down, and detach the guidelines for further discussion and/or possible changes to free speech rights, especially on number 5.
So then it won't match up with what we have online. Because we'd still have a web form. And the web
Form isn't here.
form
Are you
discusses,
looking at this, right?
I'm looking at this right here,
Isn't even in our packet.
the guidelines.
There it is. It's
Okay.
it's all in red. Those are the changes.
So what I'm looking at on board book is it says visitor input guidelines, and then in parentheses, it says web.
Oh, here's,
So that's what's matching up with our policy, and that's what everybody said they wanted to have happen. So again, if we're staying consistent, and if you want it to match up with, the policy 206, and the biggest issue is that it's saying disrespectful comments versus personal attacks, then I would say that we can vote on Polly's, and whether or not that passes, we can also look at another motion to change the word disrespectful comments to state personal attacks.
I like that. Okay, so you want to, is your amendment, or is your motion still to just disattach, or we take that edit?
first one is to separate them as two different documents and two different.
All right, and you have a second? Any more discussion on that?
So it's passing, whether or not we're going to pass 206 is what we're doing first.
No, just the amendment first.
She just wants to do the detaching this form from the policy. That's what we're voting on.
Right. That's the first thing. Detach it.
So if we detach it from this, then
And okay, I'll add to revisit it.
206.
We can vote on 206. Detach it from 206.
If we detach it, then we can vote on it.
And really, it's not part of 206.
It's not, anyway.
It's our form.
it is our form. But I want to make sure that, because again, on our board book, it says visitor input guidelines web, and it's been very clear that everybody wants it to match up correctly.
Correct.
So I want to make sure that if these are our guidelines on the website, that we approve this as well, whether that means that we're going to change the wording from disrespectful comments to personal attacks.
Yeah.
I just don't want this taken off the table, is what I'm saying.
Neither.
Well, there's no motion for that right now yet. I don't know if there will be. I don't intend
I would
to do
agree,
that.
first separate it, but I would agree with you, if we're going to keep it, switch it so that it's not.
I'd like to see it the same, but that's just my opinion.
All right, let's vote on detaching the web guidelines from policy 206. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Motion passes 3-2.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Rockridge guidelines for visitor input at school board meetings with the change in number 5 stating that disrespectful comments will be striked and personal attacks will be replaced.
I will support that.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
What's that you're going to replace
We're going to replace disrespectful comments with personal attacks.
That doesn't solve the problem.
It's concurrent with the
The
policy that we just passed. And I want to keep it streamlined.
Or comments of a personal nature. What are you going to change that to? Directed at an individual, either by name or inference, will not be allowed. That whole number 5 is not constant.
I think just striking personal comments and replacing it with personal attacks.
Disrespectful comments, yeah.
Yep, disrespectful comments, replacing it with personal attacks.
Well,
Any other discussion?
It's not saying public attacks, public nature. It's personal. Personal is the difference.
Personal attacks, unwarranted.
I know, but Nicole, you have to read the whole thing. Disrespectful comments, turn it to personal attacks, or comments of a personal nature.
Right.
Directed at an individual, either by name or inference, will not be allowed. You cannot disallow that according to law. So go ahead. I'm voting against it because I don't want to be, you're
Okay, any other discussion?
going to get in trouble.
It's in the policy.
That rest of that language is,
Updated. It's in our policy. If it needs to be updated, MSBA is going to make that recommendation that we update it based on what their attorneys tell them.
page 4,
Noel had already said if they need to update it prior to the 3-year review, then they're going to update it and we're going to get notification of it. Noel gets it, Stacy gets it, and I sign up for notifications as well.
so on page 4 of the policy, number 7, here's all it says. It says, personal attacks or anyone addressing the school board are unacceptable. Persistence in such remarks by an individual shall terminate that person's privilege to address the school board and potentially remove from the meeting. That sentence is not structurally sound. So it's totally different, totally different.
Any other discussion?
So your argument is that this goes against freedom of speech because of the wording in here, as in what?
Because of their cases, and then there's a Supreme Court case that goes back to say, you can be disrespectful, you can have personal comments of a personal nature, and they have to be allowed whether you like them or not. We're public officials, we should expect, whatever, we put ourselves in those positions. And even personal attacks, you can have a personal attack.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That
And they're unacceptable, and they'll terminate a person's right to come to a board meeting. Just saying, could be illegal.
I probably can shed some light on this because I've talked to Trevor, your attorney, several times about this because of past things that happened at board meetings with visitors. You run a business meeting. Visitors can talk during the business meeting. There is no freedom of speech for anyone to come to a board member and say anything they want. They do not have the legal right to come to your board meeting and say anything that they want. That is not true that they have freedom of speech to say anything that they want. You can restrict speech at school board meetings. You can restrict how long they talk. You can restrict people from talking again and again and again and again and again if you want, because you're running a business meeting. The public, and this is hard for some of the public to understand and accept, the public does not have the right, the automatic right, to come to the board meetings and say anything that they want for as long as they want. You control that.
Noel, I did not say anything they want, so don't put words in my mouth. This is talking about personal attacks about somebody or whatever, and you can disagree, you can say, I don't think you're doing your job right and you're all wrong. I didn't say anything they want for how long that they want, okay? So there's the other part of the story.
You did say limit free speech.
Yeah, but I didn't say anything they want,
Well,
to say anything they
basically
want.
true.
No, don't say basic, don't tell me what I was saying. I said there's a big thing about freedom of speech for people in the public and for board members too, so.
So John, we voted to separate out
Yep.
the 206
Correct.
and the guidelines. So we have to still vote on 206.
Yep.
And we have to vote on the motion.
On your motion as well, yep. No, we'll do Brandy's motion on changing the verbiage to personal attacks, striking out, what we striking out?
Disrespectful comments.
Disrespectful comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 3-2. Now we'll do policy 206. Can I get a motion?
I will make that motion.
Now,
I'll second.
okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Is that a 4-1? Okay, motion passes 4-1. 6.2, non-substantive policy changes, 700 series. Can we take all these at once? Make a motion to take all these at once?
Make that motion to once.
Motion by Director Lotiger. I will support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimously. Admin items, these are just going to be for informative purposes only from the earlier motion. 7.1, consider approval of MOU between Rockridge Teachers Union and Rockridge School Board regarding off-property instruction for the 22-23 school year.
Hannah, back here. Here's what this one is all about. And then you can decide whether you want to do this or not. Call this is directly related to what Greg Foster is doing. So we have a teacher who does almost everything and for years has done almost everything at Virginia High School in the old days. Now, the new days is Rock Ridge. Virginia High School is just one of Rock Ridge's schools. So he has been, as you know, for the last 2 years, he has come out to this site on the baseball, softball fields, and we bus kids out here, and he has been working with the kids on site here. He is not working in Virginia High School. He is not working in Rock Ridge High School. He's coming here on site. It's taking an enormous time for him to do it. Plus, he has to get the materials, make sure the materials are there. He's got a special trailer. It's one of the nicest construction trailers I've ever seen. You know, some people with the hammer goes here. It's everything. It's immaculate. So he's had to put, and we've recognized that he's had to put an extraordinary amount of time into this. This is way beyond what the regular teacher schedule is. So we started talking about it. I think it was the Buildings and Grounds Committee that first started talking about this, and I brought up the topic. Greg's doing all of this extra work. This is way beyond the call of duty. We don't really have a mechanism to do that in the teacher contract. So should Greg Foster get extra money because he's doing something like this? And so it ultimately, and he's got kids, we're busing kids out there. And so the full school board said yes. The teachers group, union group, said, let's do an MOU. We're not disputing that he's doing a lot of work. We're not disputing it's an extra work. We just don't have a mechanism in the teacher contract for doing that. So we've met several times. Bill Addy, because he was a school board chair, was present at one of these meetings. We worked out an MOU that would apply only for this year. And because teacher negotiations are coming up, we'll probably start those May, June. Some of you will get to participate in that. We will talk about this again during negotiations, but they were comfortable. They wanted something for this school year. So we talked about the MOU. So what you have in front of you is our combined solution to take care of this problem. And the biggest part of it is if a teacher is working off-site, they're working at a business, and this could happen again because of the career academies where we have a staff member go off-site and go to a business and maybe we send kids there. That it could happen because that's what is happening in Greg Foster's case. So that's what this is, and that's why it's being brought before the board for your consideration.
So this is something that we already approved as a full board 4 months ago, 3 months ago? and
You
just-
approved, yes, you approved the money. The teacher union group feels more comfortable with an MOU.
Yeah. Which is just the same thing, only different,
The MOU, the teacher group asked for the MOU.
just a different way of
That's what this is.
wording it.
So are you saying this only applies to Greg Foster?
This year it does, yes.
Okay,
We don't have anybody else doing something like this.
because it says, when exceptional circumstances exist, such as the ones identified below, a full-time teacher could be paid for an additional class or duty as normally would for an overload. Okay, so I want to make sure that this is, what other circumstances might come under this, and we only have 3 more months of the year. This has been going on, so this might be a particular thing for a particular situation. I don't want it to be opened up without the board, getting more detail and information in the future. If this is going to, going to apply to other people or other situations.
And this might help members of the board. We did specifically, because we're going to talk about this in negotiation. I know it's going to come up. There's a bunch of things that always come. This is one of them. We want wording in there that encourages teachers to do this. We want teachers to be project-based, hands-on. This is a different type of high school here, so could this happen again? Yes. And so that's why the wording you just heard Director Sorkin say, that is not unintentional. That is intentional. This is for exceptional circumstances. So if another teacher comes to us, and this is something the board, I would think, would want to consider, this is not Greg Foster. This is another teacher. Hey, I got a great idea. If we do something with this business, I got to be on site over here. I'll have to be there a lot. We can change the schedule. I can be there period 1. Can you get the kids there? We figure out a way. And it's this great thing we're doing with this business. Would we think about doing that? I think so.
And that would come back to the board.
Yes, because
Right.
it's not in the contract. This MOU is only for this year. So we would have to work it, and if it made it into the final contract, you absolutely would see it.
And what's the cost of this and how do you determine it? Sometimes overloads are considered one way. Sometimes you take an overload and you get sub pay. Sometimes you get a percentage of your salary. And if you're at a different part of the salary range, a $40,000, $50,000 a year person isn't going to get the same percentage, 1/6 or 1/7 as somebody who's at the top of the scale. Those are important things. And then the cost to the district, the extra cost to the district, once these things start multiplying with more and more teachers and more situations. So is this going to be more costly?
If you have 10 teachers who are doing this, you will be the only high school in the entire United States who has this many teachers doing these remarkable things on campus. And if you have that problem, I'm singing hallelujah and I'm dancing in the street even though it's raining.
But it is an addition. And yes, project-based learning and academy style and off-site, that's the nature of it. Okay, and so, yes, I see that it's going to be costing more, but it could be between $10,000 and $15,000, $20,000 per person doing this, depending upon how you calculate it. So I don't even know how you're calculating Mr. Foster's extension of, teaching time and pay. So those are,
So what we do is then when we're doing the budget, we figure that into the budget. We make estimates on how much things, and Spencer and I will sit down, we'll be talking again. We make estimates on what we think will cost, and then we just incorporate that and we shift resources as we're talking about with the budget.
so,
It's kind of normal,
so it would be the equivalent of one full prep.
yes.
Okay, what does that turn out to be per person? And that's unknown at this time or in the future?
Well, for Greg, we already passed it. I mean, that number was already,
This is the teachers union asking you to do this MOU.
yeah.
So do you know how much that cost was in addition, this extra hour? And this is about a prep. This is not about the teaching of an extra hour. It's of a prep, because if you take that offsite class, that you would do on-site, that's a wash, okay?
Right, but for any teacher who's doing offsite, it's way more work. Because they've got to set things up. It's not their room. They're not in the room anymore. It is way more work.
So they're,
I think we need to acknowledge that and recognize that.
would they be teaching the same thing though, just in a different scenario and environment? And like even, like you have to travel and take things with you and then bring them back?
Using Greg Foster as the example, absolutely not. There's no way he can do this in Virginia high school. No way. He's got to be on site with the kids, building those on site, which is why we're here talking.
I understand that, but he'd be teaching the same thing, just off-site.
No, he's not teaching the same thing.
Well, the same skills. He's building dugouts, but you don't build
You
dugouts.
can't replicate it. You can't replicate this in the shop. It's not big enough. He's got.
I understand that, I'm not saying that.
Right, but he's got OSHA inspectors coming.
Okay.
He's got contractors coming down there. It's not the same thing. If you're a kid, this is way better than doing something in the shop. He would have to scale it down. He would do his best to try to recreate the skills. It wouldn't be the same thing.
Okay, what, the skills, okay, and then there must be transportation costs included, what about insurance and offsite? We're gonna have to face all those things in the future with offsite, project-based learning, so.
Yep.
We don't know the full cost of even just this one, and in the future, like you say, build it into your budget, but those are things we have to know. If you don't have the money, you take away, you bring it here, you have to take away somewhere else in the budget. So,
Yep, you're shifting the money to those areas that you are deeming are important. If you wanted to build a normal high school, we wouldn't have this conversation, but that's not what we did. That's not what the community said they wanted.
yeah, well, that's not part of the discussion, so.
So we can put that for approval on the next agenda in the next meeting?
We'll bring it back and then you can just tell me what you want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
7.2, consider permission up to 4 staff, 2 elementary and 2 admin and 2 elementary teachers to attend the AASA, American Association of School Administrators, sponsored workshop on the Happiness Advantage, creating positive, high-performing schools in Alexandria, Virginia, March 28th through the 30th.
Here's what this one is. So in almost everything that we've done, we've always sent, I'll call them advanced scouts. We've always sent advanced groups, usually teachers, sometimes there's an admin, to it to check it out. That's what we did with Abbott. Before we did anything with Abbott, we sent a small group to some Abbott workshops, and then they came back and we said, what did you think? And they said they liked it. We did the same thing with REACH. When REACH started, we didn't just start it. We sent some people to the REACH program and what did you think? And then they came back and told us what they thought. This is how we built the new high school. We didn't say let's build a career academy. We sent people to Alexandria who were already doing it. And then we said, what do you think? Do you like it? Not like it? So that's what this is. So we're asking the board, and I really wish it was in state. I really wish it wasn't where it's at, but it's not. So what this is, we would like to send up to 4, it could be only 2, teachers, administrators, maybe 3 teachers, 1 administrator, maybe 2 teachers, 1 administrator, to this workshop, and to basically attend, and then to come back and then tell us, here's what we thought. We think this isn't going to work, or we think there's something here. Now this one is elementary based. So in the high school career academy, is that we do know that we're going to have to do things differently. Now, we don't want to ignore the elementary schools. So in the elementary school, and you've heard talk about behavior, you've heard talk about culture, you've heard talk about working, how's it going? That's what this addresses. So this is that's why it's called what it is, the orange frog, all right? It's an elementary school. It's intended to actually start in Harvard University. One of the professors there started at Harvard. You can go into any bookstore, buy the book. It's called The Happiness Advantage. He's written 2 of them. And, or order them online and you can read them for yourself. And what it is, it's about changing systems and schools, elementary schools at this time. So yes, they're more fun, but people are more interested in being there. They do activities. This is teachers, staff, and parents. So they're much better places to be in. So when you go into the elementary school, it's not like doom and gloom. It's not an unhappy place. It's not where people are, this is wrong, this is wrong. So it's a whole different mindset, and also teaching the kids. So how do elementary kids think? You know, you can approach a second grader and ask a second grader, something can happen. And then you know you can get two completely different responses from a second grader. One can just, I don't know, they don't know what to do. You can have, all of a sudden, you can have behavior all over the place. Same thing with another kid. Okay, then they just rotate. They just switch into something else. So what this is, it's an attempt to take a look at, and other schools have done this. This is not new. Should this be something that we look at as far as helping with elementary culture? So it's more positive. It is not about sending warm fuzzies to everyone and then hoping there's no problems. It's an attempt to get ahead of the curve and positively try and do something so you don't have problems. So you don't have as much kids who don't want to go to school. You don't have as much issues with staff and things like that. It's a better place for the mental health and mental well-being, because kids who are 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, they go through an elementary system first. And you talk to any elementary teacher, they know and can tell you which kids need help. And so this is an attempt for us to look at a program, and I freely admit, if you say yes and we send some people there, they may come back and say, no, this is not going to work here. We don't want to do it. They may absolutely say that. They may come back and say, well, there's something we should be taking a look at. So that's why we're asking to send some individuals over there to take a look at it and come back and say, here's what we thought. And if you say yes, we'll bring them back to the school board meeting and you can ask them directly what they thought about it. And then they may say, nope. Or I think there's something here. I think this is going to move. So that's the long story behind this request.
I've got a couple of questions. So how will this change the elementary culture? What is that? What's in your head when you're saying that with this orange frog? And another one is, can they just read the book without going there and get the information that they need? And then you also said teachers see what the kids that need. So maybe we already have that information and we already have the ability to tackle that situation just because teachers are aware of what's going on with each kid.
I'll answer the last one first.
Okay.
Yes, they could go to this and they could come back and say, no, we got this covered. We're already doing this. This isn't going to help. They absolutely could come back and say that. And that's why you always want to send, whenever you're doing, a very small group to come and advance and check it out, so to speak. As far as what it would do, it's part of it is a mindset. It is working with staff and it is working with kids on mindsets. You're going to school. Is school you talk to your kids. Is school a happy place? Or I don't want to go, for whatever reason. So part of it is a mindset in elementary kids, because we all want the kids who are proactive, high school kids who are proactive, they do the right thing, they never get in trouble, they work really, really hard, they turn everything in, they're social, they're great kids. We all want those kids. How did that happen? Yes, I know a lot of that is because of family. It also is what was going on with the kid in the elementary school. And so we want to start those habits and that way of thinking in the elementary school. And we're trying to figure out what's a good way to do that. So this is one way that might be a way to approach that. And you asked one other question, and the first one you asked me.
About the book, can they read the book?
Can they read the book and elementary culture, which you kind of have answered, or kind of a little
Yep.
bit tapped into?
And the answer to that is no, because this is a train the trainer workshop, which is different. They would tell you, here's what we do. If you start this is what we suggest you doing. So this is way beyond just the in-service on the book. This is way beyond the tapes. It's way beyond, it's how do you actually do this in an actual school with real staff, with real kids and with parents and adults. That's the difference. You can read the book and you'll get a general idea on how it works.
I think it's always beneficial to be able to see it operating before you implement it, just because, even with the academies and going to Colorado and seeing how it runs, the academies, it kind of ignites an energy and an excitement about bringing it back and how you're going to implement it. So it's actually seeing how it's being run, so that you can come back and try to emulate the same thing. I think it's always beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a training session, then you obviously already think that it's probably a good program. You've probably looked into it a little bit, I'm assuming. It's not just like information, they're going there to train. So the likelihood of them coming back and implementing it is probably pretty high, I would imagine.
Yes or no? Yes and no. One is that we talked about in the principal meeting. I meet with them every week, and I asked them, what do you think? Should we even bother? They said, yes, it's worth investigating. And then the other part of it is that, yes, it's true. If this was a poorly researched, shoddily done, this doesn't work anywhere that I know of, there's no way this is going to work. No, I wouldn't be standing here even bringing this up. So
this has been in other schools then, is what you're saying?
I'd be curious just to know what other schools and how they've, how it's worked, and I would like to know.
then between now and the next school board meeting, just simply put it right into your search button. Orange Frog, schools, and you'll get some hits right away. And then you just watch the little YouTube videos and you can see what he said about it.
And is this a curriculum? Or is this is a culture? This is a culture.
It's a culture, it's not a curriculum. It's not like do this, do this, do this, do this. It's not like that.
Okay.
So my questions are, first you said it's just like a look-see. Okay, now you said it's a training, teacher training for other trainers, that they would come back and train our people. So that's a big difference between.
Well, back up. No, that's not what I said.
Oh, well.
I did say it's a look-see.
Those were my
I did not
votes.
say they were going to come back and train the teachers.
No?
This is the advanced scout group. They're going to come back, and I'll bring them right in front of you folks again if you say go, and you can ask them, what did you think about this? Is this something? We are not intending for them to come back and immediately start training other teachers. I'd bring them back here first.
But advanced scout group, in my own words, is go and take a look-see, okay? That's what you said, advanced scout, and then you said it's a train the teachers. Train
That's what the workshop is called.
the trainers workshop. So that's pretty more involved than just to have an advanced scout group go and check out something. And what I read from their information, and just very quickly, never have time to research things much, but it's about productivity and environment and productivity, peak performance, motivation, improving performance. This sounds more like what a company would do. It almost sounds like Deming and all that kind of stuff. And industry and business is way different than schools.
You're always trying to motivate students.
Yeah, but what are we doing now? We have so many programs that we're already doing. And I mean, is this a crossover? Is there nothing like this that we're doing to motivate students? Or or make teachers happy. Happiness equals productivity. I don't know enough about the philosophy, what kind of goals and objectives are coming out of this, like some of the other trainings we've had. I have a question here too. You said we have to go, but it says, and now access our workshops and resources virtually. Their happiness Orange Frog thing is everything we did on site, in-house, now available with live groups and video-based training. So now they're even saying they're doing it. In-house, in here, off-site, you don't have to go, and they're saying it's, you enjoy the best in class, it's, you get just as much out of it. So it's always cheaper to bring the trainers to you. I know, Brandy, you're right, but it's not always that you get that much more. Here's Sheena.
So I'm going to step in. I talked to the guy from Orange Frog, Scott Manny, and I met with him via Zoom. And he explained it to us. First of all, there is a school in Minnesota, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Minnetonka, that already does Orange Frog. We did look at a bunch of different options, and of the different options, yes, we can pay for them to come in and train our whole school. We don't have those training days available because it's a 3-day training.
Summertime.
Yep, but we don't have the training to train all of our staff. So what the goal was to get, instead of taking our staff to do that, was to look at, send people out, see if this is something that would fit our needs and fit what we're looking for here. So if you send a couple people out, they get that training, they could come back and train the staff if that's what you so choose as a school board to offer. Or to allow.
I'm just curious what you saw in it that you thought, wow, this might be something that would be good for our school.
I guess when I look at it, it's right now, we need a program elementary wise that is going to help us to build some of that positive culture. Not that we don't have some of that already, but you're looking at some of at Parkview, we're using Second Step. At the North Star, I don't know if they have Second Step or not. And at the Laurentian, to be honest with you, I don't know what they have. At Parkview, is Second Step used to fidelity like it was the first year we got it? Nope, because we have a whole bunch of new teachers in there. Could we look at other programs? Absolutely. The reason that we chose and looked at Orange Frog is because of the popularity and that the book, and we had looked into it. We heard about it at our principals conference. So it was one of those things where it kind of piqued our interest. And looking at trying to not only look at our community as a whole in terms of in our building, but it's also helping the students. You're helping your teacher culture, you're helping the building culture, you're helping the student culture.
So we're looking at like having it more fluid within our school district. So like Parkview, you said you do Second Step, but you don't know what Laurentian's doing. So maybe you would all be doing kind of the same thing.
Yep, and Second Step is focused on the kids. So Orange Frog you're looking at your whole community.
Okay.
Sidebar off of what you just said, Nicole, we should be doing the same thing in all the schools by now anyway, instead of having it. I mean, we should be implementing and working toward that, whatever it is, if it's Second Step for both schools or whatever, instead of having it, yeah.
We're getting there. We still have 2 separate math curriculums. That's what we're working on this year. Working on Math Pilots, trying to pick a new math program for next year. So, it's not a quick snap to it process, but we're getting there. We as principals talk a lot at principal meetings and in between on what we're doing in our different buildings and what has worked and things like that. So
what would the initial cost of these 3 days be for, I don't know how many people, up to 4 staff? There's an initial cost? Do you have an idea?
I'm going to estimate that depending how we take 8,000 to 15,000 max.
So that's travel, everything, cost of program?
Everything.
Okay, and then to come back and implement, I've read a little bit about other schools that if they come back and they implement, then they're spending tens of thousands of dollars more to implement. And that we have to think about that in the future too in our budget.
there is a cost to implementation.
Yes.
You have to buy the kits for teacher.
There's high cost, plus there's orange t-shirts, plus there's orange wristbands. We don't know the total cost of all of this in the end, and I don't know if an ongoing cost would be, or just an initial implementation cost. We don't know the cost of that. They don't. 15,000 is nothing to sneeze at.
You're spending money right now on staff development. You are. We're doing it. We are going to do something with our teachers. We're going to do something with our, so this again would be where our resources going. Where do we need to reallocate them, or do we need to change something? And then we also have to ask, if that's what we do, the whole strategic plan. Yes, it's going to cost something. Yes, we're going to shift resources if that's what it costs. Would we get some donations? Probably. But you know what? What's the cost of doing nothing?
Well, here's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Staff Development and Curriculum Review Committee. And these decisions, first of all, it should be coming from our vision and our goals and objectives. But anyhow, we should be having our Curriculum Advisory Committee and Staff Development Committees, not just the administrative team and the Wednesday out professional, whatever you call them, making these decisions. This is not, it's not a community type of a decision or need or whatever. We haven't been doing that since we were consolidated, nor were we doing it the right way as separate school districts. And we've got all kinds of things coming across, and we're just saying, here, well, that's good. Let's go to Jody Farr. Let's go to this training on April 4th through the NLC about gender issues and this and that. That's supposed to be coming back into our elementaries and our secondaries. And I don't know, I understand some teachers went to an equity summit in November. I don't know what that's all about. And then there's some other things that are through the NLC, which we are a member. You know, first of all, the need, what data, do you have that we need this? How subjective or objective is it? And it's just money, money, money. And there's, like I say, there's philosophies and there's all kinds of things mixed in with these programs.
And I'm going to correct you on the Jody Farr though, because that was not district money. That was a grant that we got.
PNC money. I know it was like $12,800, almost $13,000 plus. I think we supplied a food or something for that.
No.
Well,
Is this on topic?
well, it's all about training.
Talking about the orange frog, and it was for discussion, and it's going to be brought back to the next meeting. I mean, I'd like to stay on topic here.
I am on topic because this is one of many trainings that we keep saying we need, but we don't research or we don't look at what we already have. I was at home today and I made a list on 2 pieces of paper of all the programs that we have already. I'm not going to take the time here, but if all those aren't working, how much more do we need? And
I would question that too.
Well,
Yes.
let's do what we have. We got policies, we got programs, we got all kinds of things. And now we've got more that we need. I don't know. There's got to be a lot of crossover in all of this stuff. Behavior, now it's school climate. Now it's productivity. Now it's, who knows?
And I've told the school board this for years. There's no other school board anywhere in the state of Minnesota that has as many issues, complex issues and changing situations as this board does because of the consolidation, and not only consolidation, but how teaching practices, how we're doing things differently. The train is moving 100 miles an hour. The strategic plan that you have and approved, there's a lot of stuff in there. This is simply a small part of the total district thing. And I completely understand why the tendency is to pull back. When you're going 100 miles an hour and you want to change, this, I'm telling you, this is your best opportunity to change what's happening in this district. If you slow down and if you stop changing some of these systems, you will not get the improvement you want. And in 5 years, you'll look back and go, why did we do that? Right now, you have the best opportunity to get some changes done. And another thing on Director Sorkin, what he said, the Equity Summit, those were kids. That was when the kids went to the conference, the workshop from all over the state of Minnesota, and your activity director was up here telling you what a great day it was for the kids. That was kids related.
So I have a question. What aren't we doing now that we need to get on board for that future to make, when you talk about the train, what do we need to be doing to stay on top of it that is not happening now? What's our problem now?
It's everything you're hearing. And some of your hearing isn't accurate, because I know you've heard, for example, I asked your question here. I mean, you hear rumors, you hear rumblings, this is happening. I mean, I'm in this constant game of whack-a-mole. I hear this, that's not true. You take care of that. Boom, another one, that's not true. This comes up. It's just like, is this going on? For example, you've heard this. Fill in the blank. This elementary school is in crisis. Behavior is crazy. Kids are out of control. I've been in every single building. I stand in the hallway, it looks normal. I'm not seeing this great disaster that some of you are hearing behind the scenes. And then I talk to some staff within the buildings, this is what some people are talking about, and they're like, what are you talking about? This is just normal. But here's what, to answer your question directly, is that, so there's a lot of rumors out there that simply aren't true. But on the topic of this question right here is, here's what do you want? We want staff who love coming to work. We want staff who are excited about their job. We want staff who are energized to do and be the very best every single day that they're with the kids. We want kids who want to go to school. We want kids who are excited to go to school. We want kids where attendance isn't an issue. We want kids where the behavior drops off, where we don't have behavior issues. You have some teachers who have almost no behavior issues going on in the classroom. What are they doing differently than what's occurring somewhere else? We want kids to want to work hard in school all the way up. We want kids to start being nicer to other kids. We want kids to work on figuring out how they can help the community. That's what we want. We don't have all of our staff and kids aligned doing that right now, Director Westby. We don't. We have some, absolutely, we have some. We want more. And so what we're looking for is what will work here. What will help here and help get us in that direction. Because, and I freely admit, just because something works somewhere else, it doesn't mean it's going to work here. So that's what we're looking for. And that's why I'm saying, maybe they come back and say, that's not it. But you don't go, you don't know.
I do have a suggestion from something that you said. You said you have some classrooms where they do not have behavioral problems. Maybe those teachers should be teaching other teachers, really, like their system and what they're doing. Because I do hear there's behavioral, I mean, we hear a lot. So I just want to know what the truth is. And I want to give, help with the solutions, whatever that may be. If it's this training, I don't know much about it and whatever. Or if it's hiring more paras or whatever. But I do want to be part of the solution, but I just want to know what the truth is too, because we do. And then I hear, principals saying all these wonderful things that are going on at Parkview, and I know they are. So I know kids want to go to school because of that, and my own children too, they don't like to miss school. So I'm like, where's the disconnect and what is happening? What is the root problem? And I know that you're trying to get a grasp on that, but I'm trying to figure out what the truth is too in the school.
Here's the best thing I advise give to any board member. Go into the school yourself. Just show up. You've got key fobs, go in the building, tell them you're there so they know you're there, and then stand in the hallway and you just watch. Go in the back of a classroom. Let the teacher teach, but go yourself and see what's going on, what's happening. And then you make your own decision about what you're seeing. That really is the best way for you to, don't believe me, don't believe the principal. Go, just let the principal probably wants to know you're coming, so just let the principal know that you're in the building or coming. Yeah, go look yourself, check it out.
Right, that'll be on the next meeting.
Or you can make a decision, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Meeting announcements, 8.1, working session scheduled for Monday, March 6th, right here at the Rock Ridge Administration Building. Next regular meeting will be Monday, March 13th, 6 PM at the Rock Ridge Administration Building.
Before we adjourn, can I just say one thing? I'd just like to thank the staff and the kids for all of our lovely cards and all of
Yes.
our lovely gifts for School Board Appreciation Month. That was very kind.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Could you tell us, well, I know that we got that nice video and all of these things, but where did this other stuff come from? There were certain grades, did somebody say, the canisters and the chocolate and?
Very thoughtful.
I don't know where it came from.
Well, there's North Star, Laurentian, I'm not sure.
I think all different classrooms did cards and did like.
To properly thank the ones that are responsible.
Beautiful cards.
Some of that board members, I don't know, because there are people dropping off stuff off for you all day long. Some of this I don't know.
Could you get
How nice.
that information for us?
Appreciated.
I'll get it from the principals.
Get that information, thank you.
Thank you all for bearing with me on my first meeting. I appreciate your patience with me, and
Great, John, you did a great job.
Good job, John.
thank you. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any of, I do.